eyes look nice with that shade of blue you're wearing. I'm Michael Schmedeke, internet marketing expert at Kutenda. When I'm not playing drums for a KISS cover band in Malaysia, I like to talk about email optimization. Hello. Today we're going to talk about email conversion. This is going to be a high-level conversation about general do's and don'ts to ultimately optimize your email for conversion. Obviously, these things are situational, depending on whether that might be a newsletter, a situational email, a sales email, or a marketing and promotion email. So we're going to try to keep this on a high level, but give you the good points to think about at all times. So we'll kind of start at the top of the email here with the from and to address. So as we've discussed in previous videos, that essentially you want to keep the from address for most of these emails either from you, from your salesperson, from your business, or from a topical address. So this might be for a ski company, skis@yourdomain.com. Essentially what that does is that's one more indicator when they're looking in their inbox, along with a subject line, that this email is about something that they're interested in. Now we'll go into the subject line as well. The subject line is the same way. You want to make it informational, contain a call to action. That's a really big part of it. You want to make sure that if you have an enticing offer inside this email, that you're not missing that with your subject line. Obviously there are some do's and don'ts in there as far as what words to do that promotion with and what words not to. Words like sale, discount, these things are become more and more prone for delivery. It used to be that those were kind of spam words, and more they are acceptable and accepted within most spam filters. Now, you don't want to repeat those words, or you don't want to put them all in caps. Most importantly, you don't ever want to put something in special characters to either draw attention to it or obfuscate the spelling of a word, like using a 4 for an A or something like that. That's just not going to get it delivered, and ultimately it's not going to get your message across, which is the purpose of the subject line. So between those two things, your idea, or the concept, is to give them a proposition of why they should actually read this email and what's in it for them. So for this conversation, we've essentially done a fairly sparse layout just to make it sure that we're keeping it on a high level. So you might have your logo and your contact info. You want to place those high. So if you're a business that drives a lot of information by foot and phone, that's definitely where you want to place that. If you're a strictly online business, you can go ahead and ignore this section and just leave it in the footer of the email. Nobody really cares that much where you're operating. They just want to know that you're a legitimate business operating within the US. Your logo is key to be in the top left, as that's kind of an affirmation of essentially what you've said in your subject line. Beyond that, I also want to talk about the fold here. That's a really important concept to understand when you're talking about email marketing. You want the user to be able to get a sense of what you're trying to get them to accomplish above the fold at all times. If any of your calls to action that are critical to the overall content of this email are below the fold, and essentially the fold is just where that scroll bar meets the email. So if part of your email is below where the scroll bar, or where they'd have to scroll to. So that's all that really is. And so it's critical to get all the key information for them to convert above that fold. And then conversely, as they move down the email, if any of this information goes again below the top bar of their email, or above the top bar of their email there, you want to make sure that you're placing consistent calls to action and conversion points down that email. Now, another place to start here is including something that references your subject in this area here. This way you kind of have that overall tie and consistency. So when they get to that email, again, it's an affirmation of not only who you are, but what the intent of them reading this email is. You can also put maybe a buy now button here, or some sort of conversion point up front and kind of into the textual point of the email, so if their eyes never move over to this promotional space, you're capturing them right there. The other key thing is utilizing this promotion space to cross-promote, cross-sell, and upsell. So you might have a promotional kind of, we'll call it an ad bucket here, to promote what's going on in your email over here, so you have yet another conversion point within the email. But you also want to have some cross-sells and upsells in there. So maybe you're selling kind of one of your lower-end services. You want to include some of the higher-end services that are kind of that are around that same ultimate service in there. And then you also have the opportunity to cross-sell. Maybe they might be interested in something else. At that point, it's really up to you about what you want to put into this text. The key things is making that text about the exact same thing that the email is ultimately about. You don't ever want to go off track. You don't want to ever be too informational, at least for this kind of high-level promotional email concept that we're talking about. You don't want to be overly informational, because you really want to make sure that you're driving the customer to your website to ultimately convert. So if you do have information that you want to convey and you would feel that would ultimately increase the conversion rate, you want to make sure that you place it in there, but you want to kind of essentially create a brief synopsis of it and then create a link into your website. That's also great because you're getting it out of the email and into your website, and that's the next step that they have to take anyway to be able to convert. The next thing is you want to create a really good focus around that promotion and around what that customer wants to hear when they're reading that email. So you want to make sure that you're focused and you're ultimately leading them down a conversion path. Now, I'm saying this with the exception of you also want to make sure that you might want to include something like a navigation in here. So maybe they're no longer interested in the product that you're promoting in this email. Maybe they're not interested in the particular discounted category that you're discounting for your services or your products. The real key is with that navigation is getting them down and creating consistent experience between your website and this email that allow them to get deep into the website, so even if they're not going to convert for the product that you're promoting here, that you're still giving them the opportunity to convert in other places. You don't want to have a ton of dead-end links to the exact same place where they can't navigate around your website, or they're not thinking that essentially by clicking through that email the only thing they're going to be able to do is convert. You want to essentially give them that user experience of being able to click through and explore your site again if they're not familiar, or kind of need a refresher on what your site and your business is all about. If you notice also, we've got the contact info. There's contact info, unsubscribe, any other information that you feel needs to be consistently placed within your email. That might be a privacy policy or terms and conditions, anything that's really relevant to your service. But the critical thing is having your postal address, your contact info, and any unsubscribe message down at that bottom. That is law to do that, so you want to make sure to do it. Our tool already includes your postal address and the unsubscribe message, so you're already CAN spam compliant. But you want to just add any extra things that the user might want. And I think that is it. So have a great day, and we'll talk more about email conversion for each specific process later on.